Good morning, everyone. All right, how's everybody doing? A lot of partying last night? So, as the COO of Juniper Networks, let me start with what COO means. So, I'm responsible for products, engineering, marketing, cloud operations, go-to-market strategy, to name a few things. So, you can probably guess automation and AI somewhat important to me. Juniper Networks, Gary gave a great introduction. Juniper Networks is an enterprise networking company. We are the leader in cloud-delivered, AI-powered networking. In many ways, our mission is very simple. How do we provide simple networking? How do we make networking simple for our operators? And how do we make the end-user experience flawless? When you go on Zoom, when you go on Teams, when you go to your business applications, how do you make sure that the networking performance and the application performance is flawless so that you don't blame the Wi-Fi? So today, before I jump in, I was listening to the keynotes yesterday. Petrobras, energy company, KeyBank, financial, GSK, pharma. One common underlying theme I saw across all of those presentations was how much technology is paramount to making things happen. Automation and AI, of course, but technology as a whole is transforming those companies. So today, I'm giving a slightly different perspective. As a technology company, how does technology, automation, AI come and play into Juniper? But before that, I want to touch an important topic. When I'm in the boardroom, when I'm in a CEO staff table, the conversations have been changing over the last few years. And I want to give you a perspective of how automation and AI are shaping those conversations. Let me start with that. So times are changing. If there's one thing COVID taught us, it's that we need to be adaptable. Things are constantly changing. And when there is change, you're not having a whole lot of comfort. And you know, growth and comfort they don't go together typically. So there is a lot of retooling the CEOs they're thinking about. Retooling while managing risk across adaptability, predictability, and resilience. So that is paramount for many of the CEOs. They're also reimagining, rethinking the way they work. For instance, everything from development to delivery needs to be a seamless flow of resources. Never in the history of work has people been, or CEOs been thinking about this kind of seamless flow of work or resources. And look at the Gen AI sea change. The way we work is changing, the way we operate is changing, the way we code is changing, the way we do customer service is changing. So you better get on this bandwagon. And it is also going to fundamentally change the basis of competition. And if I picked up a few things from GSK presentation yesterday, how they're fundamentally changing the basis of competition against other pharma companies is very evident. And hopefully all of you picked up on that. Last but not the least, digital transformation. It's an overused word, but I can tell you, 3 years ago, before COVID, for instance, when you ask a CIO or a CEO, what's the pace of your digital transformation across various verticals, and you amalgamate all of that stuff together, the answer was, over the next 3 to 5 years, we'll completely digitally transform our business. COVID came, and the answer became the next 3 months. So the one thing which everybody has to watch out for is not to snap back to old times. So that's something which we need to guard against, because it's very easy to get pulled back into the mundane. So you've got to look forward, push forward. Another context. Everybody knows a 10x developer? Show of hands. There's a few show of hands. A 10x developer is a developer who is 10 times more productive than the average developer. In the same sort of vein, Bain & Company did an exercise with a lot of CEOs, and they came back with a 10x company or a 10x leader. What do those leaders exhibit? So clearly, leadership and culture, which is not a surprise to many of you. If you have a CEO with a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, the company is going to do really well. If you're going to look at pushing the boundaries, if you're going to look at things to adapt and change, they're going to do really well. But the other things are not so evident. Gen AI and AI/ML. This has become a top priority for the CEOs. Customer channels, consolidation, making it all seamless from the end user perspective. The race is to get the end user and make it as simple as possible from a almost consumer-like simplicity. So when you do that, you need to have the customer channels integrated. So the companies who do this better, they're going to be the 10Xer companies. Automation, right from RPA to intelligent automation, various levels of automation is paramount for every company to be successful. Last but not the least, data management. It seems a little motherhood and apple pie when you say data management, master data, single data lake, or if you have multiple data lakes, how do you make sure they come together? But the underlying thing is very simple. In this new world, data is king, which means that the more data you have, the more algorithms and insights you can run on top of it, and the more you will know how your customers are behaving, what the customers really need versus what they ask you. And more importantly, you know the problems in your customer install base before it happens. So you have this absolute ability to be intimate with the customer because the data gives you the insights and the customer is happy. And what do happy customers do? They talk to other customers. So happy customers breed other happy customers, which means more data. More data means more insights. That's a virtuous cycle which is absolutely paramount for any company. It doesn't matter which discipline, which vertical. Your customer intimacy, that data is going to be vital. Coming back to an operational person or a CIO, what does this all translate to in terms of the shifting agenda? Well, you can clearly see a shift. The reds and the greens are pretty damn evident. Things on-prem, devices, the old ways of doing things, people are moving away from that. More investment in AI, Gen AI, security, and everything going cloud delivered. So this is the shift that is happening, and this is courtesy BCG, Boston Consulting Group. But it clearly tells you where the world is going. So when you hear this from the boardroom, from the CEO roundtables and all that stuff, one thing is pretty clear. You can't do the same thing as you've been doing before. Albert Einstein said it really well. If you want to change, you've got to rethink. And so rethinking is paramount, and for rethinking, automation and AI is paramount. So that's kind of a backdrop from the boardroom, so as to speak. And now I'm going to jump into specifically networking, a technology company, and how it's adopting automation. Every company is shifting, every company is changing, every sector is having a sea change. Networking is no different. Many of you know of networking as this complex thing which a lot of certified engineers and PhDs need to figure out before the network comes up and running. Well, that's your dad's network. To quote Captain Kirk, since we have a Star Trek theme starting from yesterday, the new network is going to be one where things are going to be self-configuring, self-healing. Things are going to be flawless in their experience. You get the consumer-grade simplicity with the enterprise scale. So that's where networking is going. End-user experience. Nobody should compromise on your end-user experience. You shouldn't blame it on the Wi-Fi. You shouldn't blame it on the wired network. You shouldn't do any of that stuff. And security should not be an afterthought. A lot of cases, security has been an afterthought. Data in motion, just like data in rest, needs to be inherently secure. And last but not the least, we are in this day where we need to be caring for the planet too, especially given all what's happening across the world. Every technology company, every company in the planet has a responsibility to do its part in sustainable networking. So those are the important shifts from a networking perspective. Now, how do we achieve that? And points for you, if you can pick the areas where automation and AI are super important in these big picture things. So first and foremost, cloud simplicity. Let me explain what this is. I call this day -1. Before you start deploying a network, you think about the design. Now you have a digital twin. You have a twin of the network you're going to create. So that's a new thing in this world because you actually can model everything before you actually do the network. So that's possible because of AI and automation. After that, when you get the first shipment of a device and you connect it to your whatever, Ethernet jack or the Wi-Fi or whatnot, all you do is scanning a QR code, and magically, from the cloud, all the configurations come in. You actually deploy the entire network, and the network is up and running. This is the new network. And on top of it, when the network is up and running, few days, few months pass by, when problems happen, you're able to proactively solve those problems with the AI-driven assurance. This is what I call as day 2. One of our large customers, ServiceNow, after deploying the Juniper network, has been able to say this. They've been able to eliminate 90% of their IT networking trouble tickets by just going to the AI-powered network. And this is possible because of the AI capabilities and automation capabilities we put in within networking, but also in the ecosystem where an intelligent automation platform can help us with. Last but not least, many of you may know Juniper as a company who predominantly started off with service providers, telco customers. We used to sell to like 10 or 15 telco customers, largely bespoke, and now it's a thriving enterprise company selling to 25,000 different customers. This needs repeatability. This needs a scale. This needs a velocity, which is unprecedented. And automation is the only way to deliver that velocity. So let me just take you back to some of the areas where we actually used the Automation Anywhere capabilities over the last 3 years. First of all, every element we touched had at least 100% return on it. But that is not telling the full picture. Because when you accelerate revenue, when you prevent revenue leakage, there's a lot more value and ROI which has not been calculated in this model. This is purely a cost ROI. For instance, deal registration has been automated and improved drastically. During the COVID times and post-COVID times, the customer-required delivery dates keep changing. And if you had to manually track all of that stuff, it's not going to be possible. So again, an automation platform, intelligent automation platform, was vital for this. Right to use, tracking all the right to use across various different customers. Again, something which you've been able to deliver with the AA platform. And it's not just sales, it's finance, it is supply chain, it is even customer service. Juniper is a 25-year-old company, so not everything was SaaS and cloud delivered day one. There was like actual devices, on-prem stuff, older releases, all of that stuff. To track all that customer inventory and also to have that customer data to actually validate all the stuff, entitlements and everything they have, there was no way it's possible with the existing tools. So automation was very vital for us to do that. So this is an example of some of the things we did. Going forward, the journey is going to be much more broader and impacting the company in a bigger way, especially with the advent of AI, Gen AI, especially with the advent of the co-pilots. It makes it super simple for us to empower the business users. Let me give you a specific example we're going to tackle. Juniper is a very acquisitive company, so we acquire companies. And one of the common problems I've seen as a COO is that when you acquire a company, it comes with a whole set of systems, which is different from the systems we have. And integrating the systems is a little bit of a nightmare. It takes time. From a customer perspective, the customer is still looking at buying the acquisition and all the engagement with the acquisition, just like it's been a separate company for at least 6 months to a year. And that is not the right way to go in this day and age. With an intelligent automation platform, we have the ability to make it all look like a single Juniper PO, single Juniper engagement, much faster. So that's a big initiative I'm going to drive in the company going forward. I already touched the day 0, day 1, day 2 aspect of how we actually get things up and running. All of that is already in motion with the intelligent automation platform. When you actually put the code in Salesforce to actually getting an automated shipment happen to when somebody's scanning a QR code, it automatically connects to the cloud and gets the configuration. All of that is a seamless automation again. And we all live in a very, very strange time with a lot of geopolitical tensions. And without naming specific things, we're always watching what can change from a supply chain perspective, supply dynamics, demand perspective. And we've got to be moving very quickly with that. And automation platforms can really help us with that. End-to-end automation. When you think about this, you typically think in terms of, okay, legacy systems and new systems, how do we tie them together? But it's more than that. It is discovery, automating and delivering the value, but the new thing which is coming is the auto improvement. With the advent of Gen AI, we have the ability to do a lot of automatic improvements, which is actually going to speed up the velocity of the business. So this is something we're looking forward to also. Last but not the least, supercharge the programs. Now it's not just the business user, the developer can go faster, our COE can go faster. And if anything, one of the things I noticed in the meetings or the meetings outside the meeting room is that there's a lot of interaction between the various different COEs on best practices and stuff like that. And that's how things get better and better. There's no substitute for that interaction. So if you do all of this stuff, if you empower the business users and supercharge the next generation, what are we going to achieve? This is what I would like to achieve as a CXO for the company which I'm driving. Go from a $5.5 billion company to a $10 billion company with much better operating margins because we can automate a whole bunch of mundane stuff. I want to focus on what is important. The core competencies in networking and making our networking the best in the industry. I don't want to focus on anything else. And a recognized pioneer, making networking experience the most important thing. You want to make networking as invisible as possible. That's our goal. We have a goal, carbon neutral by 2025, but we're going to do even better than that. And I'm very committed to doing this. I did not specifically go into this example. ESG is a big part of Juniper's future, or one of the stated goals. And there's a lot of different, environmental organizations, lots of different standards, lots of SBTi, as many of you know, right? Even keeping track of that, the ratings changing and the requirements changing is a nightmare. This is one of the areas we are actually going to use Automation Anywhere. Because my goal is to make sure that all of this data is there on the fingertips of the developers, the ASIC engineers, who are focused on just one thing, improving the power efficiency. That should be the only thing they should be focusing on. So for power efficiency, I want them to look at how do you turn off parts of the network or turn off parts of the device, and that way save power. One of the examples I like to give to make it really visceral for people is that for the first time in 50, 60 years, St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican, this whole year, lights turn off at 8 p.m. because they're trying to save energy. So energy and sustainability is super important. So I want people to focus on what they can control and not worry about other things. And employees doing their best work. So with that, what I would say is that there is a little bit of a call to action for all of you. Don't think in terms of, I'm going to do a riff on MasterCard advertisement. I think that's something good to do. You need to focus on your core competencies and where you can differentiate and where you can be the best among the best, right? You want to call out the competition and say that we dare. We dare the competition to come anywhere near what you're doing, right? Example like GSK, what they said yesterday in terms of how they're mining with AI, they have to say we dare. They want to focus on what they're really good at and spend all energy. For everything else, there should be an intelligent automation platform. So that's my riff on MasterCard ad. For everything else, trust Automation Anywhere. You focus on your core competencies. Thank you.